Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We have a lot to get into, including the Pirates and if they are on the right path. Is this the start people are looking for to a rebuild? We'll also get into Deshaun Watson, who this week will meet with the NFL as the first stage, the hearing, is going to take place to see what his suspension time might be like. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers, and they brought in another defensive piece to their puzzle. Here to discuss is your panel. We have Andrew Fillipponi from 93.7 The Fan, the PM team. In the middle is Josh Taylor, my colleague here at KDKA and also on 93.7, and Chris Adamski. I haven't seen Chris in a long time from Trib Live, the Tribune Review Sports. Gentlemen, good to see you. So let's start right off the bat now. So they bring in Larry Ogunjobi, Andrew, to go along with Miles Jack, to go along with DeMarvin Leal. Brian Flores brought in as a coach on discount, according to Mike Tomlin. He couldn't pass it up. Of these names, which of them will make the biggest impact for the Steelers defensively?
I think Jack, because of the Devin Bush situation. You know, a 10th pick, wasted pick so far, bust pick, frankly. I look at his season in Jacksonville last year. I think it was an Urban Meyer disaster. I think that whole place was just a complete mess. So I want to believe that that's why he had such a down year based on the standard he set earlier in his career with Jacksonville. So that would be my answer. If it's not him, well, then maybe it's Ogunjobi, but apparently the Steelers doctors found something that the Bears doctors did not like.
I'll go with the guy who should make Miles Jack's job easier, and that is Ogunjobi, because we're talking about a run defense that was dead last in the league last year. We bring that up all the time, right? Dead last in run defense. Well, partially because you had 5 quarters of Tyson Aluali, and you didn't have Stephon Tuitt all season. So now you got a guy in the middle, an Ogunjobi, who can actually control the middle of the field. He can actually successfully eat double teams, which should free up room for Miles Jack. It should free up room for Devin Bush. And as long as that guy's doing his job, if he's healthy, everybody else's job in the run defense gets much easier.
I mean, Ogunjobi, as the market showed, is a $40 million contract guy, $26 million guarantee guy. Now, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, the Steelers doctors know what they're doing. They wouldn't sign somebody or allow them to sign somebody who is hurt. And I guess you could say if you're giving somebody $8 million with incentives versus that much money, maybe your standard could be a little different. I don't know that, although it seems to me by the union contract, you sign it, pass a physical, you pass a physical, whether you do or not. But this is a talented guy to play. The one worry could be if this is a Melvin Ingram situation again, or who you go back to any of the other Steelers players, the veterans that come in and are backups. But I think, you have Tyson Alualu, who seems to know his place now, seems to know at the age he's at, the stage of career he's at. I don't think that will be an issue. And also, I think Ogunjobi, defensive line, you could also rotate a little bit more than you could an outside linebacker. Those bodies are always going in and out. There'll be plenty of snaps, so it really could be a difference maker.
Nobody said Flores, which I'm surprised because I thought he, based on what Mike Tomlin said about him in his podcast interview with Ryan Clark, he got him at a discount. So he's labeled here as a linebacker coach. I can't imagine Andrew's going to be linebacker coach. I mean, yes, that's the title, but to me, his impact may go far beyond that.
Could. I think it's going to take another slow start to the season, or I think it's going to take the Steelers' defense being maybe not on life support, but giving up a lot of points. I mean, look, Tomlin has a great record. He's never had a losing season. All those things are true. I just can't see him letting Brian Flores come in here and giving him the keys to the car defense.
Oh, he doesn't have to do that, does he? Just give him, he's going to have a lot of say in the preparation all the way up until game time, I would imagine, and why not utilize?
So then what's Terrell Austin's job?
Well, he's still the offensive coordinator. He still, I believe, will call the plays to start, and if things change.
Well, on game day.
On game day, yeah, I do. Even though I think Tomlin is going to give this new guy the opportunity to do what he has to do. Why wouldn't he?
I mean, I asked Terrell Austin that unambiguously, black and white, are you calling the plays? And he said, yeah, it's a traditional defensive coordinator situation. Now, I don't know if Keith Butler would have said that year after year.
Keith Butler didn't say that. In fact, he came on the radio 2 months ago and said that wasn't
true. But he said it when he was employed, though.
I think that's as time went on. I think when Keith Butler first took over.
He said he never had a chance.
I don't know about that.
Well, the difference in this particular situation with Terrell Austin and Brian Flores is you're talking about 2 voices now in the room that weren't really there for the most part during the Keith Butler days. This is kind of a reshuffling, if you will, as far as 2 guys that were previously outside the organization within the last few years. They come in now, and now that room is a lot different. So now you have 2 different voices in the room, along with Mike Tomlin, that are probably a little bit more suited to having the personnel they have now as opposed to all the guys they had that were holdovers during the year. So now you kind of refresh all that. You kind of hit the reset button. You got different voices in the room with different personnel.
Why wouldn't Tomlin come out and say that Austin is calling the plays?
Was he asked? I don't
I'm
know
not
if he was
aware
asked
that
that.
he
Has he ever said that the defensive coordinator calls the plays? I've never heard him say that.
I've never heard him say that they don't. I don't know.
Well, we heard,
Yeah,
heard a defensive coordinator say that
Okay,
Tomlin
I
does
understand that, but I got to believe
was after
when
he
you
was
have
done there, though.
when
He
you
was
have a
already
new
leaving.
defensive coordinator, doesn't it make sense here, Josh, to give him the opportunity to do that?
Not if
That's
you
what
think
he's there
Tomlin's
for.
better at it. I mean, there's plenty of head coaches that don't let their offensive coordinators call plays.
I understand
But
that.
this is a guy who's also been a defensive coordinator a couple of different times now. This isn't like this is his first rodeo, where with Keith Butler, it was his first time as defensive coordinator. Terrell Austin has not only been a defensive coordinator, he was also defensive coordinator that had a #1 run defense at one point in Detroit, which should not be discounted. That's almost impossible.
But it is an excellent point. You have three pretty big. I mean, Terrell Austin's never been an NFL head coach, but he's been around a long time. A pretty big name in terms of coordinator, a well-known name. I don't want to say egos. I don't want to really go there for to say that.
Fair.
But three pretty established defensive minds, all in one room. All is it too many cooks in the kitchen? I don't know. We'll see how the division of labor shakes out for sure. But
Good term.
But it is intriguing that you have two new veteran voices in there that are directing the defense now.
Real quick, we have about a minute left on this. Back to you, Pony. The Steelers have money yet to spend. Should they spend it now on other players? Because there are other players still out there who can help them. I still think their offensive line needs help. Or should they wait in case something happens and they need to spend money?
You know, Omar Khan, congratulations on all your success. You're the new GM. I don't think he managed the salary cap very well this offseason. How are they still sitting here with $20 million in cap space? They went and they shopped at Aldi in free agency instead of going to the department stores where you like to shop.
Larry Daniels is pretty good. I mean,
well, that's you mean James Daniels?
Or James Daniels, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the one premium item they got. Do they have a #1 corner?
I mean, they believe
#1 corners are expensive.
They have $20 million in cap space. Pay a guy $10 million a year. You still got 10 or 15 left.
Have we ever seen this team spend big on corners?
But
though?
we also
Which is not
never.
what they do.
Joe Hayden was expensive, and we've also never seen them have a. He was $9 million a year player. We've also never seen them have a rookie quarterback or a quarterback that's making almost no money.
Which means you have a lot of money to spend.
Well, that's my point. The time to spend it is not after everybody shops and now you're left with the holdovers or leftovers. Do they have a good center?
But if they do that, are we still complaining about them having the most expensive defense?
No, all I'm saying. You can't have.
We can't say they have the most expensive defense and then say, "Oh, you got to spend more on the corner."
No.
You got to have one.
No. Here's the thing. I'm not comparing them to the Pirates. They are 28th in spending. If there was another team in town that was 28th in spending, they would be getting ripped right now. You know that.
My point is,
You can roll over the cap, though.
But we're talking about.
You can roll over the cap the next year, though. So
But the
it
cap's going to go
necessarily
way up.
be harmful.
I mean, how much money do you want to take into next year? $70 million?
The initial
They
question
got
for
enough
Bob
space
was
to
they
roll
signed
into next
somebody
year, which is
now.
also a problem that doesn't get talked
They've already
about.
signed
They
Levi
got cap
Wallace,
space.
so to sign another corner isn't really. They signed a couple of
How about
Witherspoon
offensive
too.
lineman, real quick? Veteran
So
offensive lineman
I
who could
guess
maybe
you could
help
go.
in
I
case
mean,
one of those young
Mason
guys
Cole
can't do
could
it.
be more of a backup. I don't know. You completely just writing off Kendrick Green already.
Yes.
I don't know if there's an obvious spot you can add. There are places they can get better. They're set at every position. They're not great at every position.
They could have signed Jordan
but there's not an
Whitehead to
obvious
be a
place to
safety
go.
instead of
I
Edmonds.
like Jordan Whitehead.
They could have
I would agree
signed.
with that.
They could have signed Stephon Gilmore over Levi Wallace. They could have signed Bozeman to center from Baltimore over Mason Cole.
All right,
These are
good
all
points.
better players.
We got to go to a break.
I'll say backup tackle because they need to have at least a third.
Sign a
guy they can
starter.
trust.
Sign Eric Fisher. You got the money to burn.
I like
Have a
Eric
compete-
Fisher.
have a
I like that
competition.
too.
I like
it.
Should have
Yeah.
done it. We got to take a break. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson, who will be up next. Also, if we have time, we'll get into the Steelers' selection of Trubisky, Rudolph, and Pickett. That's the order going into training camp. Is that the right order? Should it be? We'll talk about it next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.